Hello everyone, welcome back to Alkaline Hydroxide 784, and today in the physics series, wait a minute, I thought we finished this entire syllabus already. Well, yeah, that's right, but that doesn't mean the series is over. There's still two more episodes that I'm gonna do in the physics series. So episode 21, which is this one, will be about papers 1 to 3, and episode 22 will be about the practical, aka paper 4. So yeah, that's basically what these two episodes are gonna be about. So I hope you find them useful. Yeah. Yeah, let's start. So in this episode I'll be covering papers 1 to 3, which is like the sit in the exam hall and do kind of paper. And I'll tell about what exactly they are, I guess, to some extent, although you probably know that better than me at this point of time. And some strategies on how to study, how to do the paper, like, and how to review your paper, because I'm not necessarily referring to the A level itself, but your entire process of going through the exam. Okay, so let's start. So first I'll start with a description, looking through the descriptions of paper 1 to 3 as shown in your syllabus. And if there's any clarifications, I don't think there's any clarification, it's pretty clear on its own. Yeah. So paper 1 is a MCQ paper with 30 compulsory multiple choice questions. I mean, it is compulsory, which means that you cannot voluntarily, I mean, you could still voluntarily skip the question, it's just that you won't get marks for skipping it. So yeah. And of course, the MCQ question is the one with the 4 options. I think everyone knows that by now. And you fill your answers in the OAS and stuff like that. Okay, cool. Then paper 2 will be as the syllabus says, variable number of structured questions plus 1 or 2 database questions. And we'll include questions which integrate knowledge from different areas of the syllabus. And everything is compulsory, so you have to answer all of the questions in paper 2 as well. And paper 3 is slightly different, even though it is pretty similar. It also has normal structured questions. There's a section B in which you can choose one of 2 questions, so you don't have to do both of them, but you just need to do one that you feel more comfortable doing. Yeah, so that's the idea of paper 3. And paper 1 is 1 hour, 30 marks. Paper 2 is 2 hours, 80 marks. Paper 3 is 2 hours, 80 marks. Yeah, so that's pretty much the description here. So what's the difference between paper 2 and paper 3? Actually, I don't really remember right now. But paper 3, the main difference is that you have that choice at the end. And the question is quite different. Like the feeling, you get this feeling this is a paper 3 question versus this is a paper 2 question. So paper 2, you will probably have like the normal questions. Okay, so structured questions will be both in paper 2 and paper 3. And it'll be probably questions like definitions or your calculations and stuff like that. But paper 2 will definitely have database questions, which is something like they'll focus on this. They'll have like this main context that they provide. Like maybe I don't know, you're traveling, you're going to a space, in the space or something, and they'll probably test you mostly on the gravitational part of it, but they may also include stuff from other topics. That's the general idea. So you'll be doing a lot of calculations, you'll be looking at the data, you might need to draw a graph, very likely. So if you get a graph paper, you know what it is for that question that requires a graph. Or you might need to interpret the data that you see in the paper in a way. So that's what paper 2 is about. So paper 2 may also ask you to make a decision, like they may give you 2 options and you may make a choice or something. So that's what database questions are about. And in paper 3, you won't really have this kind of question, because instead you have the section B with 2 questions that you can choose from. So the 2 questions will have something similar in them, or like the format will be somewhat similar, like they'll ask the same number of calculation questions or something like that, but the topic might be different. Or the topic might be very similar but slightly different, like there's a different aspect of the same topic. So yeah, that's the only big difference between paper 2 and paper 3. Yeah. I mean, the reason why they're split up like that is to make sure you don't end up having to do a 4-hour paper. No, and instead you do different papers in different days, and slightly different skills are tested in each of those papers, which is pretty important for in the view of the A-level examiners. Yeah. So let's move on to the actual important stuff, which is how to the stuff that I was actually talking about earlier, like how to study, what do you do during the paper, and what do you do after the paper. Okay, so for studying itself, I will probably just put this in a generic sense because honestly it's the same kind of studying for pretty much all of the papers. So the main way to study is, of course, to first of all make sure you don't have to study as much. So that means do your tutorials, listen in class if you need to. I mean, if you already know what's going on, then fine, but do your tutorials at the very least. And if you feel like you have a problem in a certain topic, then go and approach your teacher or your friends and ask them clarifications on the topic. So you don't have to, you know, have so much effort in studying that same topic again and again later on, because when it comes to A level, it's more effective to do questions rather than to spend a lot of time and effort trying to relearn the topic or trying to understand the topic first when you could have just done that earlier during your lesson or beforehand itself. So what I would suggest is to, of course, if it's not A level yet, you can still go ahead and try to understand the topic at least, and hope that you will understand it before the exam, because technically in JC the rest of the exams don't really have a big deal compared to your A level. But and you, as long as you understand the topic at some point of time before the A level, you're good. Yeah. So so when it comes to studying literally any subject, I think, or at least any science subject at the very least, the first thing you need to do is to check whether you understand everything in the topic, like whether you understand the concepts, whether they make sense to you to begin with. Because if you understand the concepts, it's so much easier to remember them. You know what I mean? If you're trying to remember something that seems super abstract, then you can't really remember it as well as something that you actually understand and internalize in your head. So that's the first thing. So second thing is to test whether you understand it. You can do a test if you want to. I mean, you can do practice papers and stuff, but or you can just write notes on your own, like you write your own condensed notes. But usually when I write condensed notes, I refer to the actual notes as well. So I think it's easier to just do some practice questions. And yeah, that's pretty much the main point. Just do a lot of practice questions and make sure you have like a condensed notes. So what do I mean by condensed notes? I think I mentioned this many times before. Um, Condensed notes is not like, you know, like my idea of notes isn't really like a exact summary of the topic. It's more like the stuff that you feel like you're gonna forget very easily. So let's say you tend to remember this, but I mean you can still write down all the important summary stuff, but you must make sure to definitely write down things that you will otherwise forget, or you tend to keep forgetting again and again even if you keep reminding yourself to not forget them. So let's say you have a hard time remembering definitions. Then when you write your condensed notes, try to write down each and every definition, or at least, I mean, you can just write down each and every definition. That makes your work less confusing. But if you actually do remember some of the definitions very well already, then you can choose not to write them. But the point is, focus on the stuff that you otherwise forget. Yeah. But if you have trouble with the equations, like remembering the equation, then write down all the equations. I don't know, just do that kind of thing. If you have trouble with the strategy or like how to approach the question, then if your notes are actually good, they might provide a way of approaching the question. So you write that down and go through the process in your head as you do some questions later on. So that may actually help you in a way. As long as you write down the stuff that you would otherwise forget, you'll be in a better place later on. Yeah, so that's the condensed notes. And from the word condensed, that means you shouldn't spend too much time doing these notes. It is possible to do all 20 all 20 chapters in like 2 days or 3 days max. So if you're the kind who doesn't like to spend a lot of time on notes, you can just allocate a bunch of days to do it. By day, I don't mean the entire day. You're just gonna drive yourself crazy. So more like maybe half a day you can spend for 2 or 3 days, and you can definitely finish all 20 chapters. I'm not kidding. I mean, if you don't care about aesthetics, you can do it in 2 or 3 days. I don't know if you care. Don't know what happens if you care about aesthetics. You're probably gonna waste more time. I don't know, but yeah, that's up to you anyway. Um, so that's the main thing. Like, if you're looking at it generically, how to study for physics. Uh, for the yeah, so the main approach is, one, have condensed notes, two, have practice, like do whatever practice you can do, especially in topics that you have trouble understanding, and three, make sure to clarify any misunderstandings or misconceptions. Okay, so for the specific papers, MCQ, I think the most problematic issue is when you make just one careless mistake and then it changes the answer completely. So you must be really aware that, you know, okay, this is the right answer. So you should either make sure to check through your working ones and make sure that you actually got that answer, or you can actually look at the options. Sometimes, like, some of the options are like intermediate numbers. So you know, when you do your working, you get some numbers in between. So those are intermediate numbers, and if you see them in the option, then you can ensure that they are definitely not the answer, and then you make sure to only have the final answer as your, like, you know, left over to choose as your answer, I guess. I don't know. And then paper 2 and paper 3 is, yeah, just practice your questions and maybe study your definitions. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you study for physics, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so after you do all your studying and stuff like that, then you go into the exam hall to do your paper 1, 2, and 3. So during the paper, what are you supposed to do? Is there some special thing that you need to undergo, like any strategies? Because you know, I like strategies. As if you are very familiar with the videos here, I like strategies. Yeah. So for paper 1, I did mention one strategy just now, which is that sometimes the options are actually intermediate answers and only one of them is the final answer. So if you do see an intermediate number in the calculation, or you can see it even without calculating, you can tell, oh, okay, this is an intermediate answer, like intermediate number, then you would automatically know that's not the actual answer. So that might help. If let's say you are facing all those questions that you seriously cannot do, no matter how much you stare at it, you know, like the one with the electrical circuit, then they say find the resistance. uh just skip it. Okay, I guess you can just guess the answer if you really don't know how to do that question, no matter how many times you see it. You can do all the other questions correctly, so that you know, so it's not really that big of a loss, right? Okay, cool. So for MCQ, the most important thing is to have your calculator ready and to know all your equations well, because a lot of the questions just require to quickly punch in your calculator and just be like, okay, this answer, great. And make sure to not make careless mistakes while punching your calculator. Don't accidentally type the wrong number or do it wrongly. So if you're the kind of person who tends to accidentally punch the wrong thing, and if you don't actually write down the equation on your paper, then instead maybe try writing down the equation first on the paper so that you can follow it properly in your calculator. But if you're able to just straight away go to your calculator and calculate, then good for you. You can save some time, I guess. Yeah. Sometimes there might be questions where the answer is so obvious that you don't even need a calculator. But if you're a bit paranoid, you might still check your calculators. I don't know. So I think for MCQ, the main strategy is, one, looking at the options carefully, and oh yeah, you must also read the question carefully. There might be this one extra word that changes the entire way of like looking at the question. So please read the question, each and every word, read it carefully. So yeah, so that's the second thing. Then the third thing is, make sure you don't be careful when you're typing numbers in your calculator. And four, please make sure to shade your OAS correctly. Let's say you skip a question halfway through, I mean, that's what you usually do, like if there's a question that you don't know how to do, then you probably come back to it later, right? That's another strategy that you use in MCQ papers. Well, if you do that, please know where to shade your OAS. Like, don't accidentally shade question 13's answer in question 12. Yeah, just make sure to shade it in the right bubble. Of course, if you accidentally do make that mistake, just make sure you actually find out that you do the mistake later, so that you have enough time to correct your stuff. Don't like do it in the last 1 minute check. Oh no, I accidentally shaded question 13's answer in question 12 and everything is following suit. Okay, well, GG. If you find that and you if you see that happening, you're pretty much, well, yeah, done for. Okay, so please check early enough, like have at least, like check once at 5 minutes time, at the 5 minute mark, maybe like towards the end lah, 5 minutes before the end of the paper. Even if you haven't finished all the questions, just quickly glance through and check whether all your answers are corresponding to the ones on the OAS. So it'll be good to actually mark out what answer you want in your question paper, so that you don't have to spend so much effort trying to figure out what you answered for each question later on. So if you answer in the paper as well, it's easy to check. Okay, I actually wanted to say A for this question and I shaded A, good, that kind of thing, instead of looking at the questions like, what answer did I put here? Then you waste extra seconds just trying to figure out what answer you put for that question. Yeah, unless you have great confidence in your OAS shading skills, then I guess you don't need to do this, but still, I'm just saying. Okay, cool. So that's for paper 1. Paper 1, usually the reason why people lose marks is because of careless mistakes, because it's an MCQ paper. So yeah, you are very tempted to not write working and stuff like that, and there's no working marks here, so it's really just your final answer. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's correct, it's correct. That's basically pretty much how it works. But for paper 2 and paper 3 is a bit different, right? So in paper 2 and paper 3, I think I can address them at the same time, like just based on the type of questions. Okay, so the kind of questions that you see in paper 2 and paper 3. First, you will see definitions. So definitions, I think, pretty straightforward, just memorize them. Or at least if you understand the concept so well, you can just regurgitate the same thing out somehow, then go ahead and do that. I don't know, just figure out a way to remember the definition. Either write it down like 10 times or remember the concept well and, attach the keyword to whatever you remember. Then you can just, yeah, get free marks from definitions. Yay. Okay, so that's the first kind of question. So second kind of question is just calculate something with your calculator. I mean, you usually find this in the database questions. There'll be a lot of calculations following each other. So when that happens, if you end up making a mistake in the first one, but you do the calculations correctly from then on with the so-called mistake answer, you will still get the working marks and all that for your rest of the questions, rest of the subparts, because I mean there's a lot of subparts to lose marks for, so you don't want to be losing marks for everything. So as long as in other words, I mean you get ECF, like error carried forward, but if it's something that's like 2 parts only to it, you're less likely to get an error carried forward, especially if the answer is quite important. But I think in physics and chemistry, you usually get error carried forward. It's usually in maths, I think. Actually, where do you get error carried forward? I don't know, just check with your teachers. I don't remember. So try not to make mistakes to begin with. Yeah. I mean, if the question is something like calculate this, then use what you calculate to explain something, and for sure it's not supposed to be this particular number. Even when you're explaining, then the error carried forward won't be there and you lose marks for both parts. But if it's not like super clear that you must get this particular number, then maybe there might be error carried forward based on how well you explain the second part. Yeah. So yeah, that's calculation questions plus explanation at the end. So other kinds of explanation questions which are just explain maybe how photoelectric effect works. It's a bit like definition question because you had to remember the whole string of stuff to say. But I think it's a bit easier because you don't need to follow the exact, like you don't need to worry so much about the phrasing. As long as you have the key words there, it's okay. And you know how to explain it, then you're good. You just need to know what are the main points to say and you just write it nicely and you're good. Okay, then the kind of question asks you to draw a graph. So if you're supposed to draw a graph and measure its, like calculate its gradient and everything, please do that properly, like don't anyhow do it. And if you need to bring a curve ruler or something, please bring it. Yeah, so if you bring your curve ruler, your long ruler, all the stationery that you may need for doing the paper. Don't take any chances. Um yeah, I think apart from this, okay, so for paper 3, when you have your two, you can choose between the two questions. Well, this isn't exactly chemistry, so I guess I don't really have something to say on how you should choose your question. I guess just choose, you can either just go with the first question if you don't know how to choose, or you can choose a question in which the topic or the question itself seems a bit easier. So just glance through both of the questions, see which question you can answer better. Maybe this one question got the definition you can remember so crystal clear, then you write that one, then you can get at least that amount of marks. So just estimate how many marks you can get in each of those questions and then do the one in which you can get more marks. Simple as that. You're just being pragmatic here. So at the last thing to take note of is about GC. Do you need your GC? No, actually no. You don't need a GC. Scientific calculator should be enough. But make sure your calculator actually works. If your scientific calculator is not working at all, then maybe bring your GC. Yeah. But stuff that you definitely need to bring is your pen, your pencil, your eraser. Of course, any kind of calculator that is approved in the list. Then a long ruler for sure. At least bring your long ruler, curve ruler or that bendy ruler that people use. I don't know. By curve ruler, I mean French curve. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you can use that, or you can use the bendy ruler. And then you can bring, if you want, you can bring a protractor and set square. But I don't think the protractor is very important here. Mostly, you can just use it for stuff, I guess. If your rulers only break, then you can use a protractor to draw the straight line using the straight part of the protractor. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And if your school does something that requires you to string the paper or something like foolscap paper or paper 3, then you can bring that, what is that thing? What's that thing called? You know the thing that you can open up and then it's pointy on both ends. It's in your geometrical set. Yeah, you can bring that and then use it to poke a hole. It's just nice for that job. It does a really good job of doing that. Or you can just bring the thing that you use to draw a circle. Sorry, I don't remember what the name of those things are. But yeah, you get the idea. So just make sure you are prepared for that. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's pretty much what you do for during the paper. If you have any other questions on this, you can actually ask me in the comments below. But I'll move on for now on what you do after you're done with the paper. Of course, immediately after you're done, it's just gonna be like blank for the next half an hour or something, because you just used your mind extensively to do a paper. So just recover from that first. And if you realize that you made some mistake, maybe if you want to take note of it, you can take note of it. Or if you don't want to take note of it, it's okay. You can always do it after you get back the paper. But once you definitely get back your paper, the best thing you to do is to actually analyze what mistakes you made and see where you can improve. So how do you analyze your paper? I mean, this isn't GP paper, so it's probably a lot easier to analyze. So if your marks are usually some problem within the working itself, like when you do your working, you put the wrong value, you lose your answer mark but not really your working marks per se. So your final answer is wrong, but your working is somewhat correct except for the value is wrong. Then it's your careless mistake, very, very obvious careless mistake. But if the working itself is a GG, like just completely wrong working, like just a wrong equation to begin with, then it's a conceptual mistake. And your definitions, I guess, is really how well you remember the definition or whether you even wrote the right definition. So make sure you check on that as well. See what words you tend to miss out and maybe write that down in your condensed notes. Maybe that will help you. I don't know. And if you make a lot of mistakes in MCQ, because some people tend to make a lot of mistakes in MCQ compared to paper 2 or paper 3, it's usually due to careless mistakes, or like maybe they just anyhow they read the question halfway through and then they think, okay, I know how to do this, then they do it wrong, like they miss out something that's very important. So the last kind of mistake you can probably make is you use the equation but you use it in a, you know, that you don't do it properly lah. Like, you know, this equation is meant for this topic, but at the same time you don't really know how to proceed after you use the equation. You know what I mean? Like, it sometimes happens if, especially if you don't have complete understanding of the topic itself, but you know that this equation is supposed to be used for this topic. So when you use it, you somehow end up with the wrong answer because you don't know how to proceed after you use the equation and get a number from that. Maybe you need to put another equation, but you don't know about that. Then you use this number itself. So that is what I would call blind application of an equation, which means that you don't adapt it to the question or you don't complete the full process of answering the question. So when that happens, you know, if you realize that has happened, you can maybe approach your teacher to find out how to properly do the question. Or if you want to figure it out on your own first, you can try. If you really cannot figure it out, then you go and ask your teacher for help. Yeah, and maybe go through the topic again so that you can correct any misconceptions or lack of understanding in that particular topic. So that's why it's very important to actually see your paper, look through it, see what topic you tend to mess up or what kind of question you tend to mess up, and then try to go back and then improve on that particular topic. Or if there's a topic that you're doing very well, you still study for it, but you can focus more on other topics, something like that. So that's how you make the most of your studying, I guess. Yeah, this works with any paper literally. So just like when it comes to studying, you don't just study hard but study smart. So make sure you study the stuff that you're supposed to be studying rather than anyhow doing it and then end up making the same mistakes every time, which is pretty pointless. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it. You're done within 30 minutes. So I'm done. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the next episode will be the final episode and it will be about practical, which is paper 4. I'm dedicating a whole episode to practical because one, chemistry has a practical series which has more than one episode and I haven't done any series of that sort for this. So at least I should dedicate one episode to it, right? Yeah, so that's why I have that here. And 2, because practical is a very long paper on its own, you know. It easily surpasses the other 3 papers to some extent. Like paper 4 is 2.5 hours. Paper 1 to 3, actually no, it doesn't surpass all of them. Okay, never mind. It surpasses them individually but not together. Oops, never mind. But yeah, it's bigger than all of the other papers and practical is a whole process on its own, so you know, you might want to spend a whole episode on that in a way. Yeah, so yeah, stay safe, you know, study well. Hope you found this video useful. I guess if you're studying on your own at home, you can at least get the information in this video and then think about it on your own. Yeah, so good, great, you're done, yay. So if you found this video useful, as I hope for many times, you should press the like button and subscribe. And with that, I would like to say thank you and bye.